Chapter 1. The Open Relationship Proposal and the Betrayal. I met my girlfriend when I was 23 and she was 25. We'd been together for 3 years and a handful of months, enough time to develop routines, jokes, and a comfortable life. We had established early on that I'm strictly monogamous. At the start of our relationship, she'd asked if I was open to polyamory, or an open arrangement. I made it crystal clear back then that it wasn't my thing. She was a lesbian, or so I believed, and I'm bi. But that never seemed an issue. She'd dated a boy in high school, but for years she'd presented herself as attracted solely to women until she met me. We agreed to exclusivity. End of story, or so I thought. A few years into our relationship, she began dropping hints again. Casual comments about having a girlfriend on the side, maybe spicing things up with a third partner. I laughed it off at first, assuming she knew my stance. But she started pressing harder, saying we could share a girlfriend, or we could both have the freedom to hook up with whomever. Each time I reminded her that I had no interest. I thought that was enough. She persisted until one day, I became annoyed and told her flat out, "No, I'm not into it. You know this. Why are you pushing it now?" She claimed it would spice up our sex life, that many people would love a partner who's open-minded. I responded that if those hypothetical people were into polyamory, fine. But I'm not. We argued, voices rising. Finally, I said, if she wanted to sleep with others, she should just say so, and leave, because I wasn't budging. Her reaction shocked me. Instead of apologizing or showing understanding, she got enraged. "Oh, so we're over?" she screamed. Then, as if revealing a trump card, she spat out, "Fine. I've been screwing our guy friend anyway, and I'm pregnant." I stood there stunned. My lesbian girlfriend, pregnant by a mutual friend. She'd been cheating for months, since December, right in our apartment, in our bed. All her pushing for an open relationship had been an attempt to retroactively justify or normalize her infidelity. I tried to kick her out. She refused, so I left. I moved to a friend's place, blocked and deleted her from every form of contact for a few days. Eventually, we had one last conversation. She told me she planned to keep the baby and that she'd hoped I would stay and raise it as ours. The audacity of that was staggering. I told her to pack her things and leave. I wouldn't support her lies. After sorting the lease, I decided I had to move out of that apartment entirely. The idea of sleeping where they'd betrayed me made my skin crawl. I took time off work, sat in silence, drank, cried, screamed into pillows. My friends told me to get tested, to protect myself financially, to ensure I wasn't on the hook for a child that wasn't mine. I followed their advice. In the end, I was numb, broken, but I knew I had to rebuild. She was gone from my life. Good riddance. Chapter 2. The Husband Who Nearly Lost Our Baby. I'm 25. My husband is 30. We have a 3-year-old daughter and a newborn son. We'd been together since 2018, building what I thought was a stable life. He's always struggled to pay attention. Maybe it's ADHD or just carelessness. But I never imagined this flaw would nearly kill our newborn. Our neighborhood is treacherous. Cars zip by recklessly, an accident waiting to happen. One afternoon, I was inside folding clothes when I heard our toddler scream, "Dad, help!" Her voice was terrified, urgent. I dropped everything and bolted outside. What I saw was every parent's nightmare. Our newborn stroller rolling downhill toward the busy street. My heart seized. Without thought, I sprinted, ignoring the pain in my abdomen from a recent C-section. I reached the stroller just in time, grabbing it before it veered into traffic. Our daughter stood nearby, scratched hands and knees, tears streaming down her face. She'd tried to chase the stroller herself and fallen. Where was my husband? Chatting with neighbors, completely oblivious. He hadn't noticed our baby rolling away, or our toddler screaming. Fury and horror crashed over me. I snatched up the baby, holding him tight, my mind racing with what-ifs. My daughter was hurt, only minor scrapes, but still. Our baby could have died. I couldn't believe his negligence. I erupted at him, demanded he explain himself. He apologized, wept, claimed it was an accident, but I couldn't swallow the terror. That night, I packed up the kids, and left for my parents' place. My father and mother took my side, understanding that almost losing a child is beyond a forgivable mistake. My husband kept texting, begging forgiveness, calling it a one-time slip. But how do I trust him again? In online discussions, people asked why I didn't watch them every second, why I didn't have him checked for ADHD. I had just had a C-section, for God's sake. Should I hover like a helicopter every second? He's an adult, a father, supposedly capable. Others said ADHD can lead to inattentiveness. Fine. But had my child died, no excuse would bring him back. Eventually, I discovered something far worse. My husband had been mixing ADHD meds with illicit drugs. Every walk he took with the kids, he'd secretly meet a dealer. He was high when the stroller rolled away. This wasn't an accident, it was willful negligence fueled by addiction. I fled the state, took the kids to my parents, and contacted a lawyer. The footage from a neighbor's camera showed him leaving the stroller unattended for 5 minutes, not bothering to set the brakes, turning his back entirely. The baby rolling downhill wasn't just fate, it was a direct result of his gross carelessness. Now I'm safe, planning custody arrangements to protect my children. The man I once trusted tried to paint me as ableist for not forgiving his inattentiveness. But nothing excuses nearly killing our son. As I move forward, I know I made the right choice. My children come first. Chapter 3. The fiancé who demanded trust after infidelity. My fiancé and I had been together 6 years. 3 years in, I cheated on him with a family friend. I was selfish, took him for granted. We broke up for months. While single, I realized how amazing he was, and begged him to take me back. He agreed under the strict condition that I never speak to that man again. I kept my promise for a while. We got engaged. I never cheated again. Never felt tempted, so I said. Yet I foolishly rekindled a platonic friendship with that same family friend without telling my fiancé. My fiancé found out and was furious. He needed space to think. He texted me a list of demands. Postpone the wedding indefinitely. Cut that friend off completely. Let him have full access to my devices. No hanging out with male friends alone, curfews, and more. The restrictions were suffocating. But I had no one else to blame. I'd broken his trust twice. He reminded me that it took 10 months to feel secure after the first affair. Now we had to start over. At first I balked. It felt too harsh. I thought, this time I only befriended someone, I didn't cheat. But I had violated his trust again. Commenters pointed out that he was just trying to rebuild what I shattered. Eventually I agreed to his conditions, vowing to prove myself loyal and worthy. We tried to fix it, went to therapy. Gradually he softened some rules. I felt relieved we might still have our happily ever after. Then I met someone else at work, a married coworker. He was charming, magnetic, the most physically attractive man I'd ever seen. We developed a crush. Both of us felt it. He confessed his love. I held back, thinking of my fiancé, the upcoming wedding, but the desire grew too strong. I realized I was never truly in love with my fiancé. I started withdrawing from my fiancé, refusing intimacy, telling myself I was sparing him future pain. The married coworker stopped being affectionate with his wife. He claimed it felt like cheating on me if he touched her. Soon, I decided to call off my wedding, break my fiancé's heart once again. I convinced myself it was destiny. Sure, I'd once cheated out of selfishness. This time, I reasoned, it was because I truly fell in love. I told my fiancé I'd fallen for someone else. He was crushed, but ended it calmly, saying he'd always loved me but couldn't trust me anymore. I felt guilty, sure, but I believed the married coworker was the one. I waited for him to leave his wife, handle finances, finalize a divorce. Then I discovered the truth. That coworker was cheating with multiple women, not just me. I was just another fling. He wouldn't leave his wife. He lied about his future plans. Disgusted and heartbroken, I ended it with him. Now I regretted everything. My fiancé was my true love, I realized too late. I begged him again to come back, but he refused. He was done. This was my karma. I had tried to justify my betrayals. In the end, I lost a man who genuinely loved me. No amount of tears or apologies would undo what I had done. There would be no easy absolution. I faced the reality that I had destroyed something precious and irreplaceable, and all for fleeting excitement and illusionary love. Chapter 4. The Pregnant Wife's Gym, Obsession and Affair. My wife and I had been together since she was 20. Now in her early 30s, we were married, expecting a child. She'd always been fit, but in the last year and a half, her workout routine became an obsession. She rejoined a gym she used to love, spending countless hours there, before work, after work, weekends. The gym was her escape, the cure for any stress. But no matter how many hours she spent training, our problems never really disappeared. She wouldn't talk to me about issues, she just worked out more. Even friends and family teased us about how she practically lived at the gym. When she got pregnant, I hoped she'd slow down. She didn't. Instead, the gym loomed larger than ever. Our relationship suffered. She was distant and irritable when forced to miss a workout. Eventually, rumors and suspicions circulated. She was having an affair with a gym friend she'd mentioned dozens of times. I laughed at that suggestion initially. I trusted her. But as time wore on, and her time at the gym doubled, I began to suspect the worst. One night I confronted her. She exploded in anger, smashed her phone, and in the ensuing meltdown, our worst fears came true. She confessed to sleeping with this gym friend. The baby might not even be mine. She was pregnant, sleeping with another man behind my back for who knows how long. I tried to hold on, to understand, to make sense of this madness. She seemed remorseful sometimes, but never gave me full honesty. Eventually, she announced she was leaving me to move in with the gym guy. They were in love. He even claimed he didn't care if the baby wasn't his. He'd raise it as his own. Heartbroken, I demanded a paternity test. Initially, she refused, but when her new man insisted, probably realizing the financial implications, she agreed. The test revealed I was the father. That knowledge was a bittersweet comfort. My unborn child was mine, but she wanted to raise it with him. I tried to maintain my dignity. She accused me of being abusive when I showed anger. She posted lies on social media, claiming she left me for her baby's safety. But mutual friends and family knew the truth. They defended me, forcing her to take down her slanderous posts. Time passed. The baby was born. She promised I'd be in the delivery room. The three of us, mother, father, and the affair partner who fancied himself a stepdad, crowded into that tiny hospital room. It was humiliating. Yet I forced myself to remain calm for my child. My daughter was born healthy, small, and perfect. Holding her in my arms felt like a miracle. Still, the presence of that other man, grinning and hovering, cut into my heart. We tried an uneasy arrangement afterward. I visited my baby at their home, forced to witness him holding her, cooing at her as if he were her father. I swallowed my pride for my daughter's sake. Over time, my wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, grew discontented. She realized that life with him wasn't as perfect as she'd imagined. Rumors reached me that she was complaining about him now. Eventually, she decided she wanted to move back in with me for our daughter's sake, so the baby would have one home. Yet I knew trust was shattered. She boomeranged between him and me, unable to stand on her own. One day, she'd cry in my arms about how she ruined our marriage. The next, she'd defend him. After all the heartbreak, I allowed her back temporarily, hoping my daughter could grow up under one roof. But it never felt right. She'd made her choice long ago, and I couldn't forget it. I struggled with hatred, pity, love, and resentment all at once. In the end, stability for my daughter was my priority. But I learned a painful lesson about boundaries. Just because she's the mother of my child doesn't mean I must endure constant betrayal. Chapter 5. The Husband's Inattentiveness and Drug Use. After discovering my husband's inattentiveness nearly killed our newborn, I left. He begged forgiveness, claimed he was just distracted. But footage showed he left the stroller unattended. Eventually, I learned he was mixing ADHD meds with illegal drugs. Every walk with our children had been a guise for meeting his dealer. He risked their lives. How could I trust a man so reckless? After a violent argument, I fled with my children to a neighbor's house. The neighbor's wife, who worked at a rehab clinic, recognized signs of withdrawal. That sealed my decision. I took a flight to my parents, filed for legal protection, and began working with a lawyer. He kept sending me horrifying videos of himself getting high and raging in our kids' bedroom, stabbing mattresses out of anger. This was beyond forgive and forget. It was a matter of safety and survival. When I posted online about it, some commenters tried to blame me. Why weren't you watching them? Why didn't you get him checked out for ADHD? I was recovering from major surgery, healing stitches that I tore when I sprinted to save my baby. I was expected to parent my husband as well? No. He was a grown man who chose drugs, chose negligence. Courts wouldn't care about his ADHD if our baby died. Neither would I. No excuse can pardon his behavior. He is no longer part of our lives. Chapter 6. A cheater's winding road to regret. Another scenario I read involved a woman engaged for 6 years. She cheated, got caught, and worked hard to regain trust. Her fiancé demanded total transparency. Eventually she agreed, determined to do whatever it took, but temptation arose again. She fell for a married coworker, and this time decided her feelings were genuine, not like the first time she cheated out of mere selfishness. She rationalized that she didn't choose to fall in love. She ended her engagement, believing she deserved real love, even if it meant destroying her fiancé's life. She demanded understanding, claiming love is complicated. In the end, the coworker turned out to be a serial cheater. He was never going to leave his wife. The woman realized her mistake. She lost a faithful fiancé for a fantasy. She tried to win her fiancé back, but he refused. All that remained was bitter regret and self-awareness of the damage she caused. Chapter 7. The complexity of love, lies, and parenthood time. And again in these stories, a pattern emerges. People underestimate the damage betrayal inflicts until it's too late. Some cheat because they think open relationships might solve boredom. Others blame inattentiveness or ADHD for life-threatening negligence. Some justify their affairs by claiming deeper love or unavoidable attraction. Yet each time, the consequences are shattering. Children are left in unstable homes. Partners are left wounded. Trust, once broken, rarely mends fully. The common denominator is a failure of empathy and communication. When one partner suffers in silence, or tries to force polyamory on a monogamous partner, or uses drugs instead of seeking help, disaster follows. When people run away from problems, working out at the gym endlessly, trying to mask wrongdoing by proposing open relationships, they create chaos rather than solutions. A theme also emerges about parenthood. Children are often used as emotional anchors, excuses, or bargaining chips. The pregnant girlfriend expects her partner to raise another man's baby. The cheating wife wants the child to have one home, but only after shattering the marriage. The inattentive father nearly costs his newborn's life, and only when confronted with the possibility of losing everything does reality sink in. Yet, not all is hopeless. Some victims learn to move on, to set boundaries, to protect themselves and their children. They realize that no matter how painful it is to leave a cheating partner or a drug-addicted spouse, the children's safety and emotional well-being must come first. Others discover their own strength in the aftermath, understanding they deserve better than lies and chaos. Chapter 8. Rebuilding Lives from the Rubble. Imagine the protagonist from the first chapter, forced to leave the apartment he shared with the cheating girlfriend. He's numb, broken, but he survives. He will find a new home, hold on to his dignity, and eventually open himself up to a partner who respects monogamy. Think of the mother who saved her newborn's life when the stroller rolled downhill. She's now safe, seeking legal help, determined to ensure her children never have to fear for their lives again. One day, perhaps, she'll trust someone who values their safety as much as she does. Consider the man whose fiancée cheated twice. He demanded strict conditions to regain trust, and eventually, when she tried to leave him for a married coworker, he let her go. He refused to be a backup plan, preserving his self-respect. He might find someone loyal who cherishes honesty and fidelity. And the husband whose pregnant wife ran off with a gym friend? He endures heartbreak, humiliation, and the complex emotions of watching his baby be doted on by another man. Yet he stands firm, fights for paternity, sets boundaries, and remains present in his child's life. Over time, he may find peace, forging a stable environment for his daughter, and perhaps meet someone who understands the meaning of loyalty and love. Chapter 9. Lessons learned. One of the greatest lessons these intertwined tales teach is that betrayal rarely happens in a vacuum. It comes with warning signs, hints of dissatisfaction, pleas for open arrangements, obsessive escapes into hobbies, addictive behaviors. When partners refuse to communicate honestly or seek professional help, the problems metastasize into catastrophic betrayals. Another lesson: forgiveness is not guaranteed. Love cannot survive repeated lies, nor can trust be revived with empty promises. When someone breaks faith, their partner may try, out of hope or fear or love, to mend what's broken, but eventually the truth emerges. Some wounds never fully heal. Children, innocent and vulnerable, often bear the brunt of adult selfishness. They deserve better. Many parents in these stories realize too late what their selfish actions cost their offspring. Yet the resilient parents who prioritize their kids' safety and emotional stability show that it's possible to rise above anger and pain for the next generation's sake. Finally, there's a quiet acknowledgement that mental health issues, ADHD, anxiety, insecurity, are no excuse for destructive behavior. Getting professional help, learning coping mechanisms, and maintaining open communication can prevent small issues from becoming life-threatening disasters. Chapter 10. Moving forward. In each scenario, the individuals face a choice: remain trapped in cycles of lies and hurt, or break free and strive for healthier relationships. Some choose freedom and self-respect. Others remain entangled, hoping to repair what seems irreparable. For the man who ended up single after his girlfriend's shocking betrayal, moving forward means acknowledging the pain, grieving, then opening himself to a healthier future. For the mother who saved her newborn from her husband's negligence, it means legal action, relocation, and strict boundaries to ensure her children's safety. For the cheated-on fiancé who set tough conditions, it means recognizing his worth and refusing to settle for someone who values him so little. For the husband whose wife's gym affair blew up their marriage, it means navigating a strange co-parenting relationship, focusing on his newborn daughter's needs, and maintaining dignity despite humiliation. And for anyone who tried to excuse their behavior, hiding behind ADHD, open relationship fantasies, or fear of confrontation, they must learn that genuine growth requires honesty, accountability, and a willingness to change. Epilogue. These stories illustrate a shared human truth. Love alone doesn't solve problems. Without honesty, empathy, respect, and accountability, love becomes strained and can snap under pressure. Parenthood doesn't guarantee loyalty or integrity. Marriage doesn't guarantee fidelity. But personal responsibility, self-awareness, and proper communication can guide individuals toward healthier choices. A reader of these stories might feel disheartened by the betrayals, the chaos, and the heartbreak. Yet they also show the strength of those who refuse to accept deceit, who stand up for themselves and their children, who learn to walk away rather than cling to broken illusions. In the end, pain can teach us. Those who survive such turmoil often emerge wiser, kinder to themselves, and more discerning when choosing partners. Children raised in healthier environments, even if that means separate households, benefit from parents who learned from their mistakes. Life goes on after betrayal. New relationships form, old scars fade. As time passes, the protagonists may find partners who share their values, build stable homes, and experience the quiet joy of trust that's never broken. And that, above all, is the glimmer of hope hidden in these difficult tales.